Hey, aloha everybody, and welcome back to the ThinkTech Hawaii studios for another exciting episode of Security Matters. Today, we're going to take a little forward glimpse into some stuff that's been missing from the industry. Sheryl Pinckney-Maas is with us today from Guardian Zone, and she's going to bring some vision, and she's bringing some tool sets to the industry. Woman-owned business. She is a Women in Security Forum member. Which is how she came across my radar. I saw that announcement, so I'm happy to welcome her, and I wanted to get her out onto the airwaves and let you guys get a glimpse of what she's up to. Sheryl, thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate you taking your time out. I know business ownership's tough, and your time is valuable, so we really appreciate you being here.
Well, wonderful. Thank you very much, Andrew, and aloha. And,
aloha.
Yes, aloha.
Cool. So I'd like to let's go ahead and give our guests who may not know you and know about Guardian Zone kind of as much of your background as you care to share. I know today everybody doesn't put their whole life out on social media, and for good reason, but as much as you can kind of tell us about your history leading up to Guardian Zone, and then we'll jump into it.
Okay. Well, wonderful. Well, thank you very much for having me. Guardian Zone has been a journey for me. My background is I spent actually 30 years in the government. I worked 5 years on Capitol Hill and 25 years as a senior commercial officer in foreign service abroad, working for the Department of Commerce. My job was to help US companies export their products overseas. And so, I lived in some high threat places and places with high crime. I lived in Amman, Jordan. I lived in South Africa. And so security has always been part of my DNA of my career. And, when 9/11 happened, I was at a consulate in Monterrey, Mexico. And I remember after everything happened, or the planes had just slammed in and everything was happening, we were getting bomb threats at the consulate. And so that was the first time that I realized what life was like being a foreign service officer, but also where security became an issue every day for us. And so it's just been part of my life. And so 25 years as a foreign service officer, but what really inspired me, to tell you the truth, to come up with the concept of Guardian Zone was, when you work at an embassy, you are constantly getting your drills, duck and cover drills, working with the Marine Guards, working with the local guards to protect us and protect our families. And so all of a sudden there was a terrorist attack in Paris in 2015 in November. And it really for whatever reason, it hit me because I was watching people at the Bataclan Theater running around, and there was a woman hanging out of a second-story window. And, after everything was cleared away, they talked about all the things that happened. There was a security guard on site, but nobody knew what was happening. People thought it was fireworks going off. And there was a part of me that said, people didn't know what to do. It was just chaos. And, even in an embassy, you can't mitigate every problem, but they give us certain skills, or just, to make us feel like we can do something. And so Guardian Zone was born in that moment, because I'm like, wouldn't it be great when people are having a crisis, an emergency, that they're able to actually be able to engage with on-site security and law enforcement to help law enforcement, but also help themselves. And so that's how Guardian Zone was born.
That's awesome. I back to your that a little bit of that government stuff, and I know we can't always talk about the details of it, but it's nice, I'm sure, to know that you have a coordinated system, and you practice it and you drill on it. And from Navy shipboard experience, we had those types of tool sets, but the rest of the community doesn't often have that opportunity. What was your vision or your viewpoint, I guess, of like the broader commercial security world when you looked out from, where you sat in government today? Was it in its infancy? Was it not aware of the problems that it had? How did you sort of envision what was going on in commercial security at the time?
Actually, to tell you the truth, I didn't look at a broader view. I looked at a very narrow view. And only as I had to start learning about what I was doing, that it kind of opened up like a flower. And all of a sudden it was like, wow, access control and all these other things. And where do I fit? I was looking, when I thought about large public places where people go, stadiums, arenas, shopping malls, I mean, you name it. A lot of those places have already had, outdoor concerts, indoor concerts. A lot of those places have had active shooter events. And, what happens? Chaos. And to tell you the truth, you can't bring a lot of, structure into that. But if people can be able to filter information out to on-site security, who then filters that information out to law enforcement, even if it's just duck and cover, then we've done something important. And true story, I actually spoke to a woman who was at the Jason Aldean concert in Las Vegas. And she told me of her experience, and she was an incredible woman. And the last time I spoke to her, she was, she's still going through therapy. She doesn't go certain places. And she says, you're just scared. And she said, you would run in one direction and you're told, no, go in another direction. You run in another direction. And she said, it would have been great even if somebody could just, a mobile app that just told us, everybody just, hit the ground, whatever it is, because it was just so much confusion. And so, that's what keeps me going with Guardian Zone as we built out this technology, is talking to people like that and hearing their stories and coupling that with security and law enforcement, because to me, there has to be a partnership. We have to be, when I look at things that are happening in the streets now with the protesters and whatever, I understand their frustration, but the truth of the matter is, we're not going to win until all of us can actually see the value of each other and work together.
Sure. Yeah. That chaos that you mentioned, I've been surprised, and we've had there's a lot of folks that started to look at this, right? So I think more wrapped around active shooter at first and sort of the response time and these types of things. And we've had some of those folks on the show. Do you think that just as a population, maybe we just feel like, okay, government's going to take care of this for us, and if something bad happens, they'll tell me what to do. But then when something bad happens, it's so big that no one really knew what to do.
Exactly. I think part of it is, and I like to tell people this, we are a very blessed nation. I have lived in countries where, when I lived in Amman, Jordan, I got there 2.5 years after they had the big explosions at the 3 hotels there, and all those people died. We don't live day to day worrying about our security the way a lot of people do in other countries. And so in some ways, when I moved back to the US, it was funny to see that there were no walls around my home, or security the way it is. And so I think that, like I said, we are a blessed nation. And so because of that, you're right, in a sense, we look to law enforcement to cure the problem, but I think, we're putting a burden on them that, they're not all seeing, they can't know what's going on. And sometimes we, as the public, or we as staff members or customers or whatever, if you're at a facility or wherever we are, you see something and your instincts are saying something's not right. Or you're seeing something, you're going, that's going to be a problem. If you trust security and you trust law enforcement and you're building that connectivity, then you will be quick. You don't mind connecting with them and saying, "Hey, I see something." But if you have an adversarial relationship, you're not going to do that. And so, as an African American, as a woman, I understand some of the challenges that are out there. But my nephew's in law enforcement. We have a couple of lawyers in the family, so I also understand that we're not the enemy. And so, like I said, bridging those two sides together to really keep us all safe.
Yeah, it's super important that we work together. I mean, I think in the security professionals across the industry sort of know that. You did bring up the woman in security, so let's talk about that for a minute, because we've had 4 up until now. No, I'm just joking. But we've never had that many, right? And so it's so important. My wife is our owner, and I've been to many times in meetings, and everyone's talking to me, and she's the president. They're just completely discounting her, right in front of us, and I'm like, you should be talking to her, dude. Anyway, what's been your experience as you got into the industry from, have you had, issues where you were discounted, or does what I'm talking about resonate with you at all? I mean, have you experienced any of that kind of stuff? Because our industry's old bald guys like me with goatees and,
Yeah.
ex-military guys. There's, 99 of us for every woman, it seems like.
Yeah. I think it's been challenging, but not impossible. I was a member of As Is, and like I'm a member of SIA and Women in Security Forum. So it's nice to be with my sisters at the Women in Security Forum because we really do support each other. But I will say SIA has been extremely supportive. Kevin Murphy, shout out, really helped me
Yeah.
recently. And even As Is, working with As Is locally in our local chapter, North Texas, was great. And is it difficult? Yes. And I think part of it is I didn't come from law enforcement or the military. I came in with an idea in technology as a startup, and they're like, who are you? And so I had to learn the lingo. I had to learn, what to say. I joined the different organizations. I participate, I'm on the education in community outreach, committee with Women in Security Forum. I had to get involved so they get to know me because it's all about relationships at the end of the day. And so, has it been challenging? Yeah, it has been. I'm not gonna put that. And even in my area of interest of what as a CEO in creating this technology, as far as I know, I'm the only woman in this spot, meaning the owner, and I can definitely say I'm the only African-American in this spot. But I've had lots of support from SIA and, like I said, the Women in Security Forum. So, hey, I think in life, a lot of things are difficult. Being a business owner is difficult. So I wouldn't say it's impossible. Yes, there's been some challenges. Yes, some things need to definitely change, but I think change has already started.
Yeah, it's good. And I'm glad you're here to help us lead the way. I joined WISF because the men needed to have a message, right? They needed to understand how to relate and how to help and how to mentor and how to share their contacts. And so I was glad to happy you gave Kevin a shout out there. It's really good. SIA is a great organization for so many of us. Tell you what, we're getting close to, let's go ahead and take our break. And then we're going to come back and jump into the technology side of Guardian Zone a little bit. We're going to take a 1-minute break. We're going to pay some bills, and we'll be right back with Sheryl Pinckney-Maas.
Aloha, I'm Christine Linders, a physical therapy specialist and the host of Movement Matters. My show is designed to teach you the simplest and most effective treatment strategies to get you out of pain and back to doing what you love. If you or someone you know is having pain in a certain area of the body and would like a free assessment in treatment over media or in person, and then come on the show to talk about it, email us at thinktechmovementmatters@gmail.com. Or if you have a topic you would like to know more about, please email us. My goal is to decrease pain all over the world, inspiring people to take better care of their bodies to enjoy life to the fullest. I look forward to hearing from you.
Hey, aloha, and welcome back to Security Matters. Sheryl Pinckney-Maas is with us today from Guardian Zone, and we're getting ready to get in. We were talking about that ecosystem of partners out there. We've got law enforcement, we've got the public themselves, we've got government, we've got a lot of folks that are responsible for security in our communities. And when we get out to these larger events, oftentimes something can occur that kind of overwhelms everyone who was there and thinks they know what to do. Sheryl had some vision, inspired a little bit by her work inside the government. You have to rewind to watch that bit. But Sheryl, you brought Guardian Zone out to this community with a real mission and a purpose behind it to solve a problem that you saw. Give us some insight into the, what you thought you could fix. What needed to be fixed.
Well, I don't want to say that what could be fixed because, there's a lot of, I have a lot of colleagues and there are a lot of companies out there doing great stuff. And so
Sure.
what I looked at, it's kind of what I kind of alluded to earlier. Everybody was doing all of this, but I just saw this little sliver that wasn't being taken care of. And I wanted Guardian Zone to slot into there. And so part of that is this. When I look at my competitors, they have closed communities. And so when I came out with Guardian Zone, I made the mistake and I said the word like open community, and a lot of security officers were like, "Oh, what do you mean by open?" And so I was like, so now I use the word temporary community, because that's really what it is. The way we designed our technology allows people who come into your facility, into your stadium, to your concert, to be able to engage with security if there is a problem. But also the most important thing, because this really is a B2B product, it's really for us to help security. This is here, security. You're watching 32,000 people at this concert. There's a guy right in the middle that's having a whatever issue, may it health issue, something, he's passed out. How do you find that guy? And how do people call you and what that information? By being able to use the mobile app that we designed, it does show the location of where you are. We're using GPS locations for an outdoor event, and we're using IPS for indoor. But we're able to feed information to security for them to be able to help us. And so what I like to say is that we're bringing, your staff, your customers, your visitors, your fans to be part of the process with security, so that we're partnering up and we're helping you help us be safe.
Yeah, I was wondering so when you talk to communities about this, right, when you get, and I'm sure you addressed I know the arena owners, I would think that the venue owners would be happy to have this type of capability. I know the guard forces would love it and law enforcement. So what about our, let's just say there's a non-trusting, component of some of our communities, right? Because maybe they're in that concert and they're doing some things that are maybe not allowed, or whatever it may be.
Right.
How do we get them to trust us, for understanding that it's maybe not even for their good or their benefit, but maybe their neighbor or someone who came with them? A lot of this trust that we're asking people to take on, and this role that we're asking to play is for them, but also for maybe their family member or someone that they're with during one of these events.
Right. Well, the way it was designed is that, everyone can download the mobile app when we use geofencing technology. So wherever you are, if they are part of the Guardian Zone family, you just download the mobile app, and now you are able to connect with security. And you don't send messages to anyone else. It's directly to security. So it's in security. Once they get that message, is also able to respond to you directly. And so therefore, you can send information backwards and forwards. Security is capturing information. We say that security can respond in 4 ways. They're able to, send you a text message. They can call you. They can come find you because they know your location. But also we have mass, notification, mass alert capabilities as well. And so a lot of times, like I said, this is designed really for people to be able to give information directly to security. It doesn't go anywhere else. The information belongs to the facility or the venue that has taken out Guardian Zone and is using Guardian Zone.
Yeah, and I think that's an important distinction, because these events change, right? So the original person who identified something happening, they saw something, they're reporting it, but they may not have the full picture. Now there's 4 other people that are also informing security. Maybe the first guy saw something at the front door, but somebody else is at the back entrance and someone else is at the side entrance. All of a sudden, security can get this larger picture of whatever actually the threat may be and get a little better handle on it. My understanding is that oftentimes these responses, like response time, a lot of our civilians in these types of incidences. After 2 minutes or something, they're bleeding and things like that. They're what do you call it? Their survivability is going down rapidly the slower the response. Have you guys done some work with sort of like this that response measure? Is that a thing that you're bringing also to the responding community there if they're using these types of tools?
Like first responders?
Yeah, well, or even on site, just the guards getting there quicker, someone that can render aid to someone. Maybe they're having a heart attack. Maybe they're bleeding, whatever it may be.
Well, and that's what actually Guardian Zone originally was kind of, our thought patterns was that guard companies would use it. What we found is that a lot of guard companies saw that because I guess their cost structure is very small, that they saw a technology like this actually would probably make it cost prohibitive for them as they compete for contracts. And so what we found ourselves actually going directly to, your operations manager, your VP, the C-suite basically, and getting them on board, and then being able to use Guardian Zone. But one of the things that I want to say is I don't see Guardian Zone just as for active shooters. The way we designed it is also for if there's a medical emergency, if somebody's having, a criminal activity is happening that you see, or even something suspicious that you see, you're able to send all that information. You can take a picture and send it to security. And then what I say is you allow security to then use their protocol to respond to what you've sent them. But you've done your duty as Joe citizen or a staff member to give that information to them, right? And we even have, you mentioned COVID earlier. We've even, the way our system was designed mostly for the active shooter, it actually can help companies with their COVID response, because we do, as you walk into the geofence, we do collect your telephone number. We are very cognizant of people's PII, their privacy. And so we've walked that fine line between giving enough information for security to use for what they need and for reporting, but keeping your privacy private. And so we've definitely, so we capture that information. And so what we've been able to do is expand it a little bit. We don't call it contact tracing because we don't do the whole contact tree. However, if, for example, you went into, an office building and they have an outbreak of COVID, if you had downloaded the app and had it open, they would actually be able to send you within 15 days, hey, a mass alert. It doesn't necessarily come to Andrew. It just says this phone was in our facility on this date, this time. And we had, there's a COVID outbreak. Click on this, you can have a link there, and then you can have like the letter, the instructions, Health and Human Services, go see your doctor, whatever it is. So that's kind of how we say, we can help you with your COVID information. Also in the mobile app, there is a section where we call it, you can create a custom incident report, because we have 4 pre-programmed incident buttons, and then you can do a custom one. The custom one, we leave that kind of like for non-emergency. I'm in the parking lot, I locked my keys in my car. But I also said, this can also help with social distancing. If I'm at a ball game, or I'm somewhere and I use this example all the time, and I'm in the ladies' room and there's only supposed to be 6 of us in there, but there's 20 of us in there all, doing what we're doing. Anyone can take it on themselves to literally do a custom message back to security talking about no social distancing happening. And then security would then again follow their protocol to respond to what's happening. So.
Yeah, it's incredible when we engage. I don't think oftentimes, or many times, the security applications in the world, we feel like we got to take care of people because they don't take care of themselves. Yeah. And your application is actually inviting that part of the ecosystem that are the customers, the clients. Your customer may be the facility, but the client is actually the people within the facility. And this enables them to be a part of their own security, be a part of securing others when they see violations. And realistically, they're just reporting the information. The facility then deals with it in whatever way they've established that they need to deal with these things. So I
That
love
is
that
correct.
idea. It's a very holistic perspective. Do you think it was born from just that experience of how it could be done inside of an embassy where the protocols are well defined and well handled? And
Yeah.
is it because it's scaling quite a bit larger than most embassies when we start talking about arenas?
Yeah. Well, I think it was a journey. I mean, when we lived in Peru, for example, we had radios that we took home and we taught our children how to call the Marine call sign so they can call the Marines. And
Nice.
so if I can teach my 6-year-old how to do the Marine call sign, then my thing is, then other people can also use a technology to call or security or law enforcement or whatever they need to do to get help. And the way I also see Guardian Zone is, as part of the Cooke plan, as I said, for a corporation or a company. But another thing, and this was something that someone else told me as I was talking to them, they said, what's really great about this? Yeah, you kind of designed it for that on-site security, because sometimes people are calling 911 and there's a security force, guard force there. And when law enforcement shows up, security didn't even know they were coming.
Mm-hmm.
This may be a way, we never tell people not to call 911. That is your God-given right in America. However, you can do both. And so now when law enforcement arrive, security will now have certain information that people could have fed to security, and it's there. So that's kind of how, like I said, law enforcement, on-site security, staff, visitors, customers, that's the ecosystem that pulls it all together that helps us to be safe.
I love that, Sheryl. This is I think, brilliant. I'm glad that you've brought this out to the industry. I think, and I'm glad you're sort of in between telecom and IT and security. So I'm glad you're in the security industry and not over. I'm glad that you're not over with the telecom guys or whatever. So this is really important. I appreciate the vision that you're sharing. And it's definitely driven from a passion of helping people and making people safer. And I love that.
If I could,
we've got a few seconds left. If you'd like to just give our audience your final take on something they can do for themselves, or if you just want to plug Guardian Zone, go ahead. Thank you.
Well, I just want to say thank you, and let everyone know that one of the biggest supporters, I mentioned SIA, but actually I'm part of the Microsoft Startup Program, and so Microsoft is a partner and has been very supportive of Guardian Zone, and I'm really thrilled. So I wanted to give them a shout out as well. I think basically what I want people to understand, it's all about taking care of each other. And I think a lot of times, like I said, when I look at other technologies, sometimes people got so much into the technology that they forgot the people. And at the end of the day, we are people, right? And things happen and we see things. And sometimes you read things differently, but I think that, if I can become part of the process that helps this security guard, who then helps law enforcement so that we're always kept safe, then I want to be part of that ecosystem and I want to humanize it. So that's kind of been my goal. And like I said, Guardian Zone is, for large public places, but you know what? It's for corporate campuses. And I really am looking at how can we get even Guardian Zone into K through 12 schools or even universities, because the technology is there and the need is there. It's just, getting with the right people. So thank you.
Well, I think with SIA and Microsoft, you're definitely in the right space. We're all going to help you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate your time. And I hope you folks out there can be safe. Check out Guardian Zone. Have a great rest of the week. Aloha.